I've got 3 different manufacturers and I think 5 different series or product lines. We were talking just a minute ago about WinDor systems, their casement option. They have a 1550 series as well, which is their single hungs and their horizontal slider options. But as you noticed when I started to open that unit up, it's got a white interior, not a black interior. So one of the downsides to the single hungs, we haven't spent a lot of time selling their single hungs to date because our customers really go for that black look or that bronze look. Well, starting this month, they've got a new black interior option. So we've got the single hung unit that's going to replace this one on order, and they've gone to a black interior and a black exterior on that. So we're now going to have a complete sliding package versus a complete casement package for the WinDor Systems product. Great product, serves us well. Just to say a little bit about WinDor Systems, they're owned by Pella. They got bought by Pella about 2 years ago, but Pella's letting WinDor still do WinDor. So they're not trying to make WinDor Pella. They just came in and purchased that company, but they're continuing, they have the same management in place. They're still operating out of Brea, California is where this product comes from. They're building a new door manufacturer here just right outside of Fort Worth that we're excited about having here. So we're not having to truck those sliding doors, those swing doors all the way from California to here. They're going to be made here in Texas. So that's coming really quickly and we're excited about that. But WinDor has been good to us. I did a plant tour with senior leadership there on December the 6th of this last year of 2024. And one of the things that I really loved about them is they said, look, we don't have, as for the size of their company, they can't afford to have product fail or have issues. And so everything they do right the first time. Cardinal OE 366 glass with argon feeling. They put that aluminum in their U-channels to maintain they have stability, and they use the thermofoil so they can get their temperatures up to a level to where they're confident they can perform in all climates without any issues. And they just don't have room for error. They don't have room for lots of service and warranty issues. And so they do it right the first time. And that's what I love about boutique companies like WinDor. They are a part of a larger conglomerate in the Pella name, but they still do WinDor, and they do WinDor really well. So next on the agenda, we just talked about the 100 series patio slider. Well, this is the 100 series single hung offered by Andersen. It's a great little unit. They'll do black, bronze, black, white, bronze, white, Terratone, and a few other colors that they have there. I think it's 6 colors that they offer in this right now in varying degrees. 100 series has been a workhorse for us. I told you this is the product that I used when I was a builder, and we sell it to a lot of our builders that are on that non-production custom builder but aren't completely luxury. This product fits right in that vein, looks the part, and can do just about anything that we need it to do on a house. This is their single hung. They do in 2025 are rolling out with a double hung. And what's the difference between a single hung window and a double hung window? Well, single hung means it slides from the bottom up. Double hung means it slides from the bottom up, and also this front sash, the top sash will slide from the top down. We see that more in Louisiana and up north where they'll open up that top portion of the sash just a little bit so that they can let Mother Nature do what she does. And as heat rises and comes out of the top of that window, it pulls cooler air into the bottom of the window. So that's just a natural convection that occurs as heat rises. And those double hungs really do a good job of capturing that. Problem with North Texas and South Texas is we don't open our windows very much anyway. So we have that double hung. It's a great feature, a cool concept, but we just won't use it that much. So it's not nearly as popular in the South as it would be or as it is up in the northern states. Andersen also offers the 100 series picture window, which is again it's a direct set or picture window. It has no functionality. And then if you look down on the bottom tier on the second column, they have an operable casement. It's very similar to the WinDor Systems. You got your latch that locks or unlocks the sash as a whole, and then you crank it out just like we talked about before. So same kind of features. We set the window product up in here to kind of show selection features too. And so this is clear, or what we call a 1/1. There's no division or divided light in there. And remember when I talked about GBGs a little bit ago? That's a GBG right here. So that's actually, you can see it both. See how it's between the glass? You can't touch it. That's an example of a GBA. That's 1.25 inch wide bar that's really pronounced. And then this is Andersen 100 series standard GBG, which is a 3/4 inches in height. And so it's a profile that you see inside the glass versus right below it is that same 3/4 profile that can be felt on the outside of the glass. And so that's a great example of seeing how those two features work. I will mention as well, one of the unique features about Andersen, and it's maybe good and bad, you take it as it is their chassis from the edge of my frame to the edge of my glass. If you measure this single hung window, it's going to be 3 1/8 inch from the edge of frame glass. If I pop over to the casement window and I measure from the edge of frame to where my glass is, 3 1/8 inch. If I jump up to my picture window, 3 1/8 inch. Andersen across the board with the 100 series is consistent. So no matter what type product I'm using across the house, they're all going to profile out exactly the same. I can mix picture windows with casement windows, and a customer looking at it from a curb appeal point of view is not going to see any difference in the what we call the daylight opening or how much glass is in that window. As opposed to just using it as a reference, Amsco right next to it, they've got a really thin frame for their direct set window. So this is a picture window, and from the edge of frame to that glass is less than 1.5 inches. So 3/8 inch for a picture window or less than 1.5 inches. And right now this is all the rave. Everybody wants really, really thin profile because they're looking for steel. And so this is one of the features that you see with an Amsco product. Whereas when I get into Amsco and I start doing, this is their Studio Series, inch and just shy of a half. And if you look, you'll notice how on their single hungs, they've still got that inch and just shy of 1.5 inches. But when I get to my lower sashes, it's a sash inside a jamb. And so it actually grows there. And so I still have that kind of 3-inch reveal that I see there. Andersen makes it consistent from one product to the next. Other companies like Amsco, when it comes to Studio Series and other products, you're going to see a varying degree. Their picture windows are going to be really thin. Their single hungs are going to have a little bit more meat to them. And then when you get into their casement windows, and so here's an Amsco casement window, you look at that edge of frame of glass, you're pushing that 3/8 inch. And ironically, if I were to zoom in on that and then come back over and zoom in on the casement window for Andersen, they really look similar. Like I could blend those products together and one would not notice that one was one manufacturer and one was the other. But why wouldn't I do that? Well, Studio Series, black. You know, they'll do black and they do black well. When I get into Amsco's Hampton series, which is, it's more of a refined product. It can be used for retro replacement window. It will do some larger sizes than their Studio Series want. What comes with that is some thickness. Why? Because in order for you to have reinforcement in vinyl products, you have to use more material. So the more material I use, the thicker, the chunkier that unit's going to get. And so Hampton is going to be more of a traditional type product where right now the Studio Series kind of fits in that Southern Contemporary or that modern feel or flair. And then in the Hampton product, they won't do black interior. So they'll do black exterior, but they won't do black interior. And so this is actually a black interior on the Hampton product. And I just told you they wouldn't do it, they will, but this is painted. And I brought this out here to show what painted looks like, but it's not necessarily something that I would be trying to promote or sell to my customers. If I was gonna have to blend that in and do a black casement to fit in with my picture windows or whatever, I would probably substitute that Hampton series casement for the 100 series casement because the 100 series is a black, and I can blend that in with the rest of the Amsco products and no one's gonna know the difference. Again, I told you, not a big fan of painted. Why? Because you can scratch it and peel it. Painting has to do with surface preparation and other aspects of things. And if it's not done correctly, you're gonna have some issues with that paint peeling over time. It can be scratched off really easily. And when we're dealing with imperfect people, imperfect materials, we wanna do everything we can to make sure that product looks good or looks great for years to come. And so we try to avoid painting if at all possible. Let's talk about what the black is on the Amsco product and the black is on Andersen. You know, earlier I talked about WinDor systems being a thermofoiled product. Well, Andersen and Amsco use what's called a capstocking, where they take a true and true color material and fuse that with the white vinyl as they're making those extrusions that build out the window. So it is bonded to the surface of that vinyl to begin with. I haven't to date seen any vinyl windows where if you cut it open, if it was a black window, where it was black through and through. If you can imagine UV, all those kinds of things that can fade products over time, an all black product like that, you know what happens when you put a plant or a black planter or something else, over time it starts to fade and turn a different color. Well, they wanted to have more control over that. So they use white, they fuse that or bond that with a capstock material that will withstand UV, that's rated to halo UV, that will fade consistently over time. There's not a product in our showroom, whether it's aluminum, whether it's vinyl, whether it's Fibrex, that's not gonna fade. Everything is gonna fade over time. That's what happens when the sun shines on it. But what you're looking for is how long does it take for that product to fade over time? When we talk about Kynar rated products, a Kynar 2605 finish, like what we see on this door here, what we see on Weather Shield as a standard for their cladded products, that is a top rated finish that is guaranteed for 20 years on the product. And so that's the same 2605 rating that Marvin uses, which we consider Marvin a really top line product. Lowen, ultra high end, Quantum Windows, one of our other manufacturers, Colby, one of our competitors, they all use 2605 for their paint as a standard, whereas other manufacturers, some of our others, Windsor, Andersen, Quaker, Lincoln, Sierra Pacific, those guys will use a Kynar 2604, which is one step down as a standard paint color, and they'll upgrade you up to a 2605 if you want to use that. One of the things I like about Weather Shield is they do everything right in the beginning.